What if it's not bad luck? What if the people who never quite choose you, who always leave you one step short of what you need, what if you were not accidentally finding them, but actively drawn to them for reasons that go much deeper than preference? That is an uncomfortable idea, but it is also one of the most well-supported findings in relationship psychology. And today we are going to walk through exactly what is driving it and what you can actually do about it. This video is about why, not to make you feel broken or flawed or like there is something fundamentally wrong with you. There is not. But understanding the pattern, really understanding it at the level where it actually formed, is the only thing that gives you a genuine way out of it. And that is what we are doing today. Before we begin, subscribe to ensure that you never miss out on any of my videos. With that being said, let's get right in. The first thing I want to establish is this. The pattern of falling for people who do not choose you back is not random. It is not bad luck. It is not because you are somehow marked for this kind of pain. And it is not, as people sometimes tell themselves in darker moments, because you are fundamentally unlovable, or because this is simply what love feels like for you. It is a pattern, and patterns have origins. They have logic. They serve a function, even when that function is causing you pain. And when you understand the origin and the logic and the function, the pattern loses much of its power. Not all at once, not immediately, but the understanding is where change begins, every single time. So, let's start at the beginning. Where does this pattern come from? The root of this pattern, in the vast majority of cases, is what psychologists call an attachment wound. We introduced attachment theory in an earlier video, but today we are going much deeper into one specific consequence of it. So, let me give you the relevant part. In early childhood, the primary relationship we have with caregivers teaches us several things simultaneously. It teaches us what love feels like in practice. It teaches us how much effort is required to receive care. It teaches us whether our needs are met easily and consistently, or whether they require performance, persistence, or earning. For children who grew up with caregivers who were inconsistent, sometimes warm, sometimes withdrawn, emotionally available in unpredictable cycles, something very specific happens. The child learns that love is something you work for, something you pursue, something that arrives intermittently and must be earned rather than simply received. And because children do not have the cognitive capacity to understand the inconsistency is about the caregiver's limitations rather than their own worth, they arrive at a conclusion that lodges deeply. I am not quite enough. I need to try harder. If I get this right, the love will come. That conclusion does not stay in childhood. It travels. It becomes a lens through which adult relationships are filtered, and it creates an unconscious template that says, love is something you pursue. Love is something that requires effort to unlock. Love is something that arrives, when it does, as a relief from the anxiety of not having it yet. And when you carry that template into adult life, a very specific thing starts to happen. The people who offer love freely and easily, who choose you clearly, who are available without reservation, do not activate the template. They feel too easy, too available. The template does not know what to do with them. There is no pursuit, no earning, no relief, just a steady, quiet warmth that the nervous system, trained on inconsistency, does not recognize as the thing it has been looking for. But the person who is uncertain, the person who is sometimes warm and sometimes withdrawn, the person who almost chooses you, who gives you just enough to keep hoping, they activate everything. The template fires, the pursuit begins. The anxiety of not being chosen fuels a level of investment and focus that feels, from the inside, like profound connection, like finally I have found something real, when what you have actually found is something familiar.
This is the distinction I want you to hold on to for the rest of this video. Familiar is not the same as right, and the most powerful feeling in early attraction is not always pointing you towards something good. Sometimes it is pointing you towards something known. The neuroscience behind this is worth understanding because it makes the experience feel less like weakness and more like what it actually is, a deeply logical response to a specific kind of conditioning. When we encounter someone who activates the pursuit dynamic, who creates that combination of desire and uncertainty, the brain releases dopamine, not in steady, consistent doses, in spikes, associated with moments of warmth, of attention, of feeling chosen. And the absence of those moments, the withdrawal, creates a craving for the next spike. This is the same neurological mechanism that underlies other forms of compulsive behavior. The unpredictability of the reward does not reduce its pull, it intensifies it. The brain learns to associate this particular person with a level of neurological activation it does not experience with people who are consistently available, and it interprets that activation as evidence of depth, of chemistry, of the real thing. Meanwhile, the person who is consistently warm and available produces a different neurological state. More oxytocin, the bonding hormone, more serotonin, more of the steady biological markers of genuine safety and connection, but fewer dopamine spikes, less activation, less of the feeling that has been conditioned to mean love. And so, perversely, the healthier option feels less compelling, not because it is less real, because it is less familiar to a nervous system that learned love as something you chase. Now I want to talk about the belief that sits at the core of this pattern, because underneath the attachment wound, underneath the neurological conditioning, there is almost always a specific belief that keeps the whole thing running. And it sounds like this: if I can make this person choose me, it will prove that I am worth choosing. Read that again, because it is important. The person who always falls for someone who is almost there, who keeps reaching for the person who is not quite choosing them back, they are often not simply looking for love, they are looking for a verdict. A specific verdict from a specific type of person, the withholding one, the one who does not choose easily, the one whose approval is hard to earn. Because somewhere in the logic of the wound, that person's approval carries more weight than the approval of someone who offers it freely. If the unavailable person chooses me, it means something. If the person who is already warm and open chooses me, it does not mean the same thing. It was too easy. It does not count. This logic is not rational, but it is not random either. It is the direct result of a childhood in which love was conditional or inconsistent enough that it had to be earned. And the child who learned to earn it now seeks, as an adult, to earn it again. Not out of masochism, out of the deepest kind of hope. That this time, finally, they will succeed. That this time the withholding person will choose them, and that choice will finally settle the question that has been running underneath everything since the beginning. Am I worth it? The heartbreaking truth is that even when it does happen, even when the unavailable person does eventually come around, the verdict does not stick, because the belief that generated the need for the verdict is still there, unchanged, unaddressed, still asking the question, and the pattern begins again with someone new. So how do you actually break this pattern? Because naming it is not enough. Understanding it is not enough. The understanding needs to translate into something different in how you move through the world. So let me be as concrete as I can. The first thing is to learn to notice the activation. When you meet someone and feel that specific pull, the electricity, the preoccupation, the sense that this one is different, this one matters in a way the others haven't, get curious about it before you follow it. Ask, what is this actually made of? Is this person genuinely exceptional, or are they activating the template? Is this the feeling of genuine connection, or is this the feeling of the pursuit beginning? The question does not require an immediate answer,
but the habit of asking it creates a small but crucial gap between the feeling and the action, and that gap is where choice lives.
The second thing is to start paying deliberate attention to how available people make you feel, not whether they excite you, but whether they settle you, whether being around them feels like rest or like effort, whether you feel more like yourself in their presence or less, whether the connection is building something or simply activating something. These are different experiences. They produce different long-term outcomes, and learning to value the first over the second is a skill that takes time but is entirely acquirable. The third thing, and this is the deepest and most important one, is to begin to address the core belief directly, not through a relationship, through yourself. The question, am I worth choosing, cannot be answered by having the right person finally choose you, because the belief that asks the question will simply move the goalposts. The question can only be answered from the inside, through the accumulation of evidence gathered in your own life through your own actions, that you treat yourself as someone worth choosing, that you hold your own standards, that you walk away from situations that do not meet them, not because you are playing games, but because you have decided at a level that is felt rather than just known, that you are not available for less than what you deserve. This process is slow. It is not linear. It is genuinely one of the harder things a person can do. And for many people, it benefits enormously from the support of a good therapist who understands attachment and relational patterns. There is no shame in that. These are deep roots. Deep roots require sustained attention, and the work is worth it, not just for your love life, but for the whole quality of how you exist in the world. I want to close with something that I think is easy to miss in a conversation like this one. The fact that you keep loving people deeply, even people who do not fully return it, is not evidence of weakness. It is evidence of enormous capacity. You have something in you that loves fully and persistently and without reservation. That is not a flaw to be corrected. It is a quality to be directed more wisely. The problem was never that you loved too much. The problem was that the template you were given directed that love toward people who could not receive it the way it deserved to be received. Changing the template does not reduce your capacity to love. It redirects it toward people who are actually available for it, who will not make you earn what should be freely given, who will choose you clearly and consistently and without requiring you to spend yourself trying to prove that you are worth it. That is not a fantasy. It is what love looks like when it is healthy, and it is available to you, but only on the other side of the understanding you now have. That's love decoded. Drop a comment below. Do you recognize this pattern in yourself? You do not have to share details. Even just saying, "Yes, I see this," is enough. I read every single comment, and on this particular topic, knowing you are not alone matters. If this video reached something real in you, subscribe. We release a new video every week that goes this deep into the psychology of love and what it takes to build something that is genuinely good for you. Share this with someone who needs to hear it, and I will see you in the next one.